Okay, I think I am live now. Hello, welcome to another episode of Fibro Friday. I am admittedly very tired, so I'm not even sure if I have the energy to do this. But I said I was gonna do it, and I want to at least try. Sorry, my hair is an absolute mess. I just came back from a tour, and I'm just tired. But it's Friday, and I am to talk here to you guys about a couple of things. First of all, I just want to remind you, it's probably somewhere on this live and video, that we are running again our Fibromyalgia Awareness fundraiser, because this month is Fibromyalgia Awareness Month, so you're gonna be hearing me talking about this a lot. So we are running it both on Instagram and on Just Giving, just like we did last year. And the goal is to reach £500, which is less than what we aimed for last year, but there's also less things going on this year, so I thought that would probably be appropriate. So there we go. And part of what I'm doing this year is just a combined sort of mix of painting competitions, some painting challenges myself, educational talks, and I'll do a few more live streams in the process, so it's gonna be a bit more varied. I don't have enough time to have a consistent approach this year, unfortunately, but anyway, I would be very, very happy if any of you would like to give me a hand. Just reach out, and I'm sure we'll figure something out. But today I want to talk about something that I haven't really addressed that much before in my Fibro Friday episodes. I did have an episode that sort of relates to this last year, and I will probably share it after this, actually. But it's about something that happens actually quite often when you are a person with a chronic illness, and that people don't really think about, and I think we need to talk more about, which is how the rest of the world seems to believe that it's okay to ask you, the person with the issues, inconveniences, illness, etc., to adapt yourself to everyone else's requirements, just so you don't inconvenience them with your illness. And it's like, what? the changes I make in my life are to make my life easier, not yours. I'm the one with the problem. Why on earth should I have to consider how this will, inconvenience you if it's making my life easier in that respect? And it's not like anything mean or whatever. I'm not talking about like being horrible to people or anything else. I'm literally talking about things that you do to cope with your illness, to manage your life with an illness, that are convenient for you, so you can actually carry on doing the things that you need to do. And I'll give you an example. Just the other day, when I had the epiphany about what I was going to speak about today, someone sent me a very, very, very aggressive message first thing in the morning, because a few days beforehand I had to cancel a meeting that we had arranged together to hang out. To be fair, I had given them plenty of notice. It was at least 2 weeks in advance, which is not something that happens very often. And it wasn't actually related to fibromyalgia. It's just something else came up. I had an emergency that I had to attend on that day. I couldn't actually arrange it in any other perspective. And I had to cancel. But because I was in quite severe leg pain, and I have been for the last few days, I couldn't even really move. So all I could do at the moment when I found out I couldn't do this was literally just send a text message saying, sorry, I can't make this day. Something came up. I have to cancel. I'm so sorry. Well, that person didn't really kick off that day or anything. But a few days later, comes and tells me that it was very inconsiderate of me to send just a message, that I should have called them. At no point in my life this person has suggested that phone calls are the right way to communicate with them. And that I simply should do better with my illness, and that I clearly am not managing it correctly. And I was like, what the hell? Because it's very inconvenient for her to receive a message when I feel bad enough to type. Because for her, it would be very convenient if I had a template designed for her, so I could make the effort to let her know when I don't feel okay enough to do shit. The blip is coming. There you go. This is actually something that probably sounds crazy, to you guys, like, how on earth would anyone think this way? But it's actually a very common attitude for a lot of people, to expect them to, is honestly is the most bizarre thing I ever heard. It's not enough that I have something I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Hi, Kato Miniatures, how are you? I'm just having my Fibro Friday rant, so never mind me. But yeah, it's apparently not enough for me to have a chronic illness that I have no control over on a day-to-day basis. I must, because I am the one with the chronic illness, make everyone else's life easier instead of prioritizing my well-being. That seems right. Right? That seems like the right thing to do. Instead of people who are aware of what can happen, try to at least reach out or understand that because of my illness, I have some limitations, and sometimes things I really want to do, I may not be able to do. Or that some days I can only just do my best. No, apparently it's much more reasonable that I make everyone else's life easier instead of my own. Honestly, I can't emphasize how incredibly common this is, not just for people with like chronic illnesses or fibromyalgia, but like in general for people with mental health problems as well. It's like everyone else has to be bubble wrapped against whatever you're going through, and that's not how this works. Hi there. It's not how it works. We are the ones with the problem. If you're aware of it and you decide to be in our lives, which is entirely your choice, no one is forcing you, you should try and sort of cooperate to help us get through those barriers and allow us to sort of interact with you in a way that is safe for us and good for you. It's kind of putting another tier of complications, and actually really unfair to ask the person who has an illness of any kind to make amends on their illness so that you don't have to be bothered by it. It's like asking children not to make a mess because then you have to tidy after it. Well, they're children. That's what they're gonna do. That's not how it works. It's honestly, it is incredibly rude and terrible, but it is something that is incredibly ingrained in society, because we are seen as difficult people, because we have this thing that doesn't make us normal, then we are an inconvenience. That's great. And you can even see it in things like the workplace, right? That's the reason why we have these sort of workplace assessments where you need to adjust your needs to the company and the company needs to provide for things. The vast majority of the time, the company doesn't have these things to sort of satisfy your needs, but just so they can, be less inconvenienced by what you bring to the table simply by having one of these illnesses, one of these problems. It's absolutely gross, atrocious, and I can't really begin to tell you how mad I am about this. But it is a fact of life, and it's something that I, like many other people, have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And it is actually very easy to fix. If you just follow the rule of not being an absolute twat, then things just go a lot better. Or if you just learn to actually communicate with someone, I completely appreciate that this person in particular who had a problem with me just texting probably would have appreciated a phone call. And I am confident that if I would have known that at the time, even though I was really in no state of calling, I could have at least tried, or at least make them aware that as much as I understood that probably was not the greatest thing for them, I genuinely couldn't fulfill their wishes because I was not able to, not because I wanted to be mean, rude, or anything else. But that was not communicated. I was somehow expected to just know that this was obviously the best way for me to manage my illness for the sake of everyone else. And for the sake of everyone else is everything else. For the sake of everyone else is like when your friends decide to go out and they don't consider in any way, shape, or form the fact that you may have accessibility needs, or that you may not be able to eat everywhere, or that the activities that they may want to do may not be suitable for you. Because if they do that and they need to change their schedule or whatever, that is an inconvenience for them. Let alone the fact that you may not be able to participate in these activities in any way, shape, or form. Well, you're the one with the chronic illness. You should be used to it. It is honestly one of the worst things that I've heard people say or even just use as an argument. Well, you're the one with the problem. deal with it. It's like when, like we have this situation currently in the UK when teachers are completely overloaded. There is literally no support whatsoever. And it's like, well, you're the one who decided to be a teacher. You knew what to expect. What kind of human empathy or even reasonable person would ever say something like that to someone else going through circumstances which are frankly beyond their control? It's not like teachers decided to work under these circumstances. It's not like I decided to acquire a chronic illness through genetical means. I was definitely in my mom's womb being like, oh yeah, this gene that looks really, really effed up? That's the one for me. Come on. Honestly, like, it is something that is incredibly frustrating, and I appreciate I'm probably being quite humoristic about it right now, but it actually made me feel awful when I saw all of that, because it actually made me feel responsible for a situation that is completely and entirely outside of my control, and that I've not asked for, and that I've not sort of imposed on myself. Like, it is terrible. Thank you. Some fucking validation. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot today. It's been a really long week, and it's always like that. It's always, you're the one with the problem, you figured it out. There is no help volunteer. There is no consideration to the fact that I'm already struggling with so much, and someone could do something for me that could just make my life a teeny tiny bit easier. And what's the worst part? That actually, and I know this as a matter of fact, people like me with a chronic illness or with a problem of any kind will be the first people to know and try to sympathize with you if you have any problem, because they know exactly what it's like. And they will generally be thinking of ways in which they can make themselves feel less like a burden around everyone else. Like, that's the bit that people really don't understand. We feel this stigma, and we know how annoying it is to have us around. We actively try to do everything that we can to minimize the impact. But we are not wizards. We can't stop reality from happening. So it's honestly very heartbreaking, because it generally makes you feel like you're not good enough, or like you're not trying hard enough. And the reality of events is that we are trying plenty hard. Harder maybe than some people would imagine. But we are trying hard so that we can cope with our own stuff, not so we can make your life better and easier through our illness. That's not the point. That's not how this works. And it's really sad that in this day and age we still need to have these conversations. But well, I guess they're needed for a reason. But that's really something that I wanted to bring to the table today. And it's, if you know anybody in your life who has a situation, I'm talking specifically from the point of view of chronic illness and from the point of view of fibromyalgia, but it could be any situation whatsoever. Don't expect them to make amends just to make their existence livable and survivable, for the sake of making your life a little bit more comfortable and for you not having to care about what they're going through. That's really inhumane. That is completely invalidating. It is suggesting that your comfort is more important than our health, than our survival, than our own comfort. It's generally not a very nice thing to do. And if you know anyone who actively does this towards people who you are aware have some of these issues, my God, please call them out. Please call them out and make them realize that that's not how society should work. And that we need support. It may not be loads of support, it may be more support, I don't know, it depends on the individual. It may not be support that you may be able to provide, and that's fine. But just because you can't provide that support, it doesn't mean that we need to do better. We don't owe you shit. I'm sorry, the blipping is coming again, I'm sure, but we don't owe you nothing. We are simply just trying to exist, just like you are. It's just like that. So yeah, I guess the general reminder is, don't be a dick. Which is something I kind of find myself saying a lot when I have these conversations, but it is like that. And please be aware that the human element of anyone with a chronic illness is just another layer of everything they have to deal with, okay? we're fighting against ourselves 24/7. We don't need your aggression because of whatever problem you have with our illness or the way we handle it. You are not even part of the equation, mate. We already have enough with ourselves. So just be a bit more mindful, and next time that you perhaps find yourself in this situation, honestly, take a moment to consider, did this person genuinely do this to make my life hell, if that's genuinely how it feels? Or did they do this because it was the best that they could do at the time? And I think you'll find out that 9 times out of 10, chronic illness or not, a lot of people were actively just trying to do the best that they could. And that's that. In summary, people with chronic illnesses don't need to make your life easier so you don't have to deal with your chronic illness. It's not how it works. Communication is really, really important. And if you're a human being and you care about other human beings, try not to make them feel like they are not worth it, or that they are not good enough, or they are not doing things the right way. I mean, everyone is allowed to make mistakes. And if I make a mistake, then obviously I own up to that. But when things are subjective, it's your way doesn't have to be better than mine. It's just your way of doing things. And it may work for you, but it doesn't necessarily work for me. And yes, just be a bit more considerate and have a little bit of human empathy. You don't know what someone else is going through. You don't know what, they have to deal with. And in the same way that they don't know what you have to deal with either. So just try to step into someone else's shoes and honestly give them a break. I think you'll see that your life goes a lot better. And if worse comes to worse and you genuinely don't know, or you genuinely feel upset, or something genuinely bothers you for good or bad, just ask politely or express your feelings politely in a way that they can be discussed, rather than in a way that they're accusatory. Because if you're making accusations when you don't have even half of the facts, it's just not going to sit down well. So that's all for today. Thank you for being here, by the way. Cato Miniatures and Maylondra when you were there. Thank you everyone watching later. And please remember that it is not just Fibromyalgia Awareness Month. There's actually several illnesses that commemorate their Awareness Month today. And if you care about them, please talk about them. Don't just talk about them on this month. Talk about them in general. But please help us make some noise just so we can stop, situations like this from happening. Because they are genuinely for the benefit of society overall, not just for the benefit of people with chronic illness. If everyone opens up their heart to be kinder people and a bit more sympathetic, not a single person is going to see a detriment from that. So, it's just kind of common sense, I guess, which is, well, as we know, the least common of all senses. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. And yeah, that's all. Like I said, I'll be doing more events for Fibro Friday and for Fibromyalgia Awareness Month, and we'll be running the fundraiser, etc. So if you guys can share it around just so people know that it's going on, that would be awesome. And I will see you on Friday next week, the latest. Actually, no, I'll see you before Friday next week, because Thursday, the 12th, is Fibromyalgia Awareness Day specifically, and I'll be doing several things. So I hope to see you there. And I hope that you have a very good weekend. Thank you so much for your time and your comments and your appreciation. And take care. Bye.